Here with more, the founder of Outkick. We have Clay Travis with us, along with the author of the big new book, Battle for the American Mind, Uprooting a Century of Miseducation. Fox and Friends weekend co-host Pete Hegseth. Pete, first, congratulations on the book. Amazon.com. We'll throw it up on Hannity.com. But if you look at this one issue, I understand why Democrats are doing what they're doing. There are all these other issues they don't want to talk about. So Roe v. Wade, if it does go away, the states will decide what the laws will be. Yep. And I doubt if any states will totally, completely outlaw abortion. I don't think that's going to happen. And if they did, people would have access in neighboring states, New York, California, or anywhere else they wanted to go. Is that correct?
Correct. This is the far left extremist ship is sinking with Joe Biden at the helm. They know it. On every issue you just laid out, Sean, they believe that this criminal leak of a potential draft of a Supreme Court decision is their life raft, and they are clinging to it and screaming from the hilltops. They just declared that you, me, I don't want to speak for Clay, but I presume Clay, and everyone else who has supported the policies of Donald Trump or believed in America first is the most extreme movement in American history. They have pegged and maxed their rhetorical response. And as you pointed out, from the bitter clingers of Barack Obama to the basket of deplorables to Hillary Clinton, that type of demagoguery doesn't work politically as well. And to hear Kamala Harris say, "How dare you?" all I think that does is make voters say, where's that passion on any other single issue? And it only reminds voters and the electorate that the only thing they care about is aborting babies or children, as Joe Biden admitted, as opposed to addressing things that are crushing the American people right now. So it shows the left for the extremists that they are. And I don't think it'll be effective, but it's tragic. Here we are, demonizing the president, one side of the political aisle, effectively as terrorists. I
think what this is going to come down to, look, I'm pro-life, Clay. I do make exceptions. Some of my friends disagree with me. Rape, incest, the mother's life. There are other people that I know in my life that I respect their opinion. They say they're pro-choice, but they always will say that abortion should be rare and it should be first trimester. What has happened with the Democratic Party in many of these blue states, I listed them last night, they actually allow abortion up to the moment of birth. And then, of course, Ralph Northam's comments, post-birth abortion, which is murder. And I think they've gone so hardcore radical on this issue, they're the ones out of touch, because 67% of Americans think it should be legal, but there should be restrictions like, for example, Mississippi is saying 15 weeks max. What are your thoughts?
I agree with the vast majority of the American public and with a lot of what you just said, Sean. And notice what's going on here. The Democrat Party, which has spent basically a year and a half, all of Joe Biden's administration, arguing that democracy is under siege, is now outraged that 9 unelected justices are poised to say, hey, let's let 50 states decide what the law should be so that all of your state representatives, all of your state senators, and your governors of both political parties can have a robust debate and figure out the appropriate policy in every state so that, thanks to federalism, we can have 50 state laboratories. Look, I went to law school, Sean. Anybody who reads the Roe v. Wade opinion, almost unanimously, regardless of their political opinions, if you take away what the result is, agrees that it's an awful opinion. You quoted Ruth Bader Ginsburg saying as much, and she certainly agrees that abortion should be legal, right? What is happening here is we are holding democracy accountable. For 49 years, we haven't been able to have a real debate, Sean. I think this is significant. It's often about whether or not the Supreme Court should be legalizing abortion in some way. Now it's about whether your individual state and whether you want to support people on either side of the aisle. That's what should be happening here. This is democracy flourishing. This is judicial restraint. This is the opposite of judicial activism. This is a democracy in action. You would think the Democrats, remember, Sean, wasn't too long ago in the Supreme Court, they stood up and said every single American has to get a COVID shot or you lose your job. Now they don't want for democracy to work on this issue, it doesn't add up.
All right, Clay, always good to see you. Thank you, Pete. By the way, congrats on the new book. We'll
Great
have
to
you
see
on
you as
about
well.
that
Thanks,
soon as well. Amazon.com for Pete's new book. Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.